Adela, she's a curator born in Tirana and living in Tirana and Frankfurt am Main, and she holds a master's degree in curatorial and critical studies of Stederschule and Goethe University Frankfurt. Now preparing for her PhD process, and she is the director of Tirana Art Lab, Center for Contemporary Art, which she established in 2010. As an independent curator, she has curated numerous international exhibitions and collaborated, among other, with institutions like, just to mention a few of them, National Gallery of Arts in Tirana, National Art Gallery of Kosovo, Maxim Gorki Theater Berlin, Villa Romana Florence, House on Lützowplatz in Berlin, and she curated the Albanian Pavilion at 59th Venice Biennale, where she presented, which was represented by Lumturi Blloshmi, and she's the founder of and program director of Curating with Care, alternative educational program in curating, taking place in Tirana. I hope that we will have a chance also to listen a little bit more about this amazing project. And I'm not sure, but I think that this is true, that
yes,
Lumturi's exhibitions prepared by you for the Biennale. It was the first female artist presentation to represent Albania with a solo presentation at this Biennale. So Adela, thank you again for joining us today, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Marika. I'm very happy to be part of this first seminar and this long-term project that Instituto Susch and you are doing on researching the micro and micro stories of women artists from former Yugoslavia and the Balkans. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes, we can hear you. And
I still will need your help with the presentation, I think, because I can't share it from my laptop.
Just click, because it's already here.
Okay, yeah. Perfect. So yes, I'm very happy, especially because I get the chance to talk more and to present to you the work of Lumturi Blloshmi, which I have been working with since 2016, when we had the first collaboration together with her, that then ended with this major presentation of hers at the Venice Biennale, and she was the first Albanian artist to represent Albania, and actually me, the first female Albanian curator to curate the pavilion. And although this was a great opportunity, I think this was an exception, and different conditions brought to this presentation. In 2019 and 2020, me, together with Ermir Krasniqi, a curator from Kosovo, worked on the biggest exhibition with female artists from Albania and Kosovo to the date, with 38 female artists, that was then presented at the National Gallery of Arts in Tirana and at the National Gallery of Arts in Pristina. And yeah, that was the first ever big exhibition of so many female artists. And one of the artists represented there was Lumturi Blloshmi. We opened the exhibition in the beginning of 2020 during COVID, so it was a difficult situation. And unfortunately, we opened the exhibition in 2021, and unfortunately, Lumturi died at the end of 2020 due to COVID. So somehow these two events, that big exhibition of female artists and the unexpected death of Lumturi Blloshmi, brought an awareness as well, a public awareness for the work that still needs to be done when it comes to researching, presenting, and writing about female artists. So I caught that momentum, and then I sent this proposal to the Culture Ministry to represent the Albanian Pavilion with Lumturi Blloshmi, and that was accepted. And I'm very happy that after the Biennale, then she had her first big retrospective at the National Gallery of Arts in Kosovo. So I actually want to use this last big event, this retrospective, to give you an overview of her work. And firstly, I want to introduce Lumturi Blloshmi a little bit. So Lumturi Blloshmi was born in 1944 in Tirana, where she lived and worked all her life. Her father, an officer in the government of King Zogu I, was executed without a trial by the communists when Lumturi was only 2 months old. And her family and her, they never found the body, and this was an issue that with which Lumturi was occupied all her life. At the age of 5, she lost her hearing due to a meningitis infection. Her professional artistic journey started in 1959 when she began studying at the Artistic High School Jordan Misja in Tirana until 1963. She graduated later from the Department of Painting at the Academy of Fine Arts in Tirana in 1968. In 1973, she became a member of the League of Writers and Artists, but her membership was revoked from 1974 to 1983, preventing her from exhibiting and continuing her artistic practice. After graduating, Blloshmi worked as an offset worker at the Mihal Duri printing house and later as an editor and illustrator at the textbook publishing house until 1989. Until 2004, she worked at several institutions, including the National Art Gallery and the Institute of Culture Monuments in Tirana. In the 1990s, she stood out as one of Albania's best contemporary visual artists and one of the few female artists of her generation, showcasing a synthesis of installation, photography, drawing, and painting. Some of her works are included in the collection of the National Gallery in Tirana. Her works have been exhibited in various groups and solo exhibitions, including those at institutions such as Chelsea Art Museum in New York, the Municipality Art Gallery in Bydgoszcz, Poland, Alexandria Biennale for Mediterranean countries in Egypt, National Art Gallery of Albania, National Art Gallery of Kosovo. As I said, Lumturi Blloshmi passed away in November 2020 due to COVID-19 infection. She actually made history as the first woman artist to represent Albania at Venice Biennale in the 59th edition in 2002, which I had the honor and the responsibility to curate without her presence. I started collaborating with Blloshmi in 2016 and have exhibited her work in several occasions in Albania and outside Albania. During these years, we became close friends, and I'm grateful that she and her family trusted me the curation of her work. So here I'm not going to talk about the biennial. I'm going to concentrate more on the exhibition that I did in Kosovo because I think it's more adaptable to the structure of presenting her work, because the presentation in Venice had not a linear and chronological, it was not a chronological presentations. So I'm going to use the information and images from the show at the National Gallery of Kosovo that opened on the 1st of September this year and closed on the 15th of October, and right now we are working on the publication for both the Venice Biennale and the exhibition at the National Gallery of Kosovo, which both presentations had the same name because in a way they are connected. Lumturi Blloshmi from Scratch, that's the title of the exhibition, presents the first retrospective exhibition of Blloshmi in Kosovo. It followed her successful presentation at the 59th Venice Biennale as part of the Albanian Pavilion. The National Gallery of Kosovo is the first institution to host this extensive retrospective, showcasing a significant part of her half-century-old creative journey. The presentation in Venice, as well as the retrospective in Pristina, aimed at presenting and repositioning Lumturi Blloshmi's work and life within the context of the national and international art histories. The selected works revealed her aesthetic essence and personal reality and brought insights into the political and social context in which she created. Like many artists of her generation, Lumturi Blloshmi adhered to the constraints of socialist realism until the late 1980s. However, in the 1990s, she distinguished herself as one of the few who successfully repositioned and transformed her work until her passing. Her works in painting, photography, installation, and performance are marked by an ironic reflection and overcoming of the reality in which she lived. Her dynamic and self-aware personality, nourished by philosophy, poetry, sensibility, and spirituality, shaped a distinctive body of work. Drawing from the previous unexhibited works, and actually only with works from her private archive, the exhibition in Kosovo aimed at introducing the multidimensional practice and individualized metamorphosis of Blloshmi to the public. The display traced her artistic trajectory chronologically, highlighting the main themes. The individual context through Blloshmi's personal experience that had become the main inspiration for the many self-portraits, the Albanian context, which she systematically analyzed, commented, and captured, be it through the landscape paintings of the 1980s, the exodus of the 1990s, or the political transition of the 2000s, and ultimately the universal context as a concern with philosophical and spiritual aspects which her latest works deal with. All these expressions that nurtured her artistic practice reveal how Blloshmi continuously recreated the figure through imagination and experimentation in various mediums, achieving what she aptly described as a distinct, tangible universe. The exhibition in Pristina was conceptualized in 5 chapters, which I will use here as a structure to present her practice. The first chapter was self-portraits. Lumturi Blloshmi originated from a persecuted family and had to deal with what the system defined as a tainted biography, which rendered the pursuit of an artistic career extendingly challenging. While her creativity can be segmented in 2 distinct periods, before and after the 90s, the self-portraits remained a genre to which she devoted continuous attention throughout her life. Most of her self-portraits prior to the 1990s were crafted in secrecy, never seeing the light of exhibition. These artworks unequivocally broke away from the constraints of socialist realism, which staunchly opposed artistic subjectivity. They served as potent tools for the artist to reimagine and recreate herself as her sense of self. Following the 1990s, Blloshmi depicted herself within diverse scenarios across her paintings, performances, and photographs. In doing so, she openly expressed her perspective about the art world, its mechanisms, and the society she inhabited. Her viewpoint was that of a strong woman who criticized and provoked the male-dominated power establishment with humor and satire. Considering the significant role biographies played in shaping individual trajectories within socialist Albania, Blloshmi's deliberate acts of inclusion, reinvention, and transformation in her works clearly asserted and reinforced her position in the national art history from a self-defined standpoint. Her persistent effort to challenge rules, transcend limitation, and defy conventions earned her the name the Rebel Artist. The second chapter, it's Landscapes and Women. In 1973, she became a member of the Albanian League of Writers and Artists, but her membership was revoked from 1974 to 1983 due to political reasons. Being a part of the union granted individuals access to materials such as paint, canvas, as well as studio space. Moreover, membership provided the opportunity to showcase artworks in official exhibitions, secure funding for travel, participate in competition for public works, and engage in free creative activity. As a result of this restriction, very few works, mostly drawings and sketches, emerged during those years. Despite the difficulties, the year 1983 marked a restart for Lumturi. Fully energized, she traveled to various Albanian cities and villages, producing numerous landscapes. Through those years, she painted a few portraits and still lifes, but she preferred working in nature due to her lack of a studio. This period can be categorized into three groups of works: landscapes, showcasing various distinct locations across Albania, portraits of women from the artist's inner circle, mother, niece, friends, and paintings in which landscape and female figure intertwine. As the 1990s approach, the female figure gains prominence and becomes the sole subject of the composition. She held her first solo exhibition in the city of Berat in the year 1988 at the age of 44. Many of the works in these sections were from that period and from that solo exhibition from 1988. The third chapter is named The Return of God. In 1967, the socialist government declared Albania an atheist state. In December 1999, the ban on religious observance was officially lifted. The symbolic fall of the dictator's statue Enver Hoxha on the 20th of February 1991 in the center of Tirana marked the end of the communism in Albania. For many, including Lumturi, that day marked a significant turning point in their lives. Two key historical events influenced Lumturi and her work in the first half of the 1990s. The fall of the communist regime, which also marked the resurgence of religion, and the Albanian exodus to Italy. In a letter to a Greek artist, Lumturi describes the most powerful day of her life. I quote, "The happiest day of my life was the day of the dictator's fall and the return to God without distinction of religion. I joined the protest that led to his fall without thinking that at any moment I could encounter death." End of quote. Several of her paintings from the early 1990s incorporate religious imagery and delve into spiritual themes. Albania also witnessed mass emigration from the country, epitomized by the August 1991 exodus. Thousands of people boarded ships and forcefully set sail from the harbors of Durrës and Vlora to Italy. This experience, which she witnessed herself in Durrës, and those haunting images deeply affected Blloshmi. She stood among the few of her generations who extensively addressed the event of the Exodus and other pivotal moments in contemporary Albanian history through her art. During this period, her paintings underwent a transformation toward symbolic figuration, best exemplified by the recurring fish boat symbolism, appearing in various forms across many of her works from the 1990s and 2000s. It was during this period that she began incorporating additional materials such as silver pigment, aluminium foil, fabric, bones, and everyday objects in her paintings. Chapter 4 is Invasion of Space. During the 2000s, Blloshmi embarked on a series of new artistic endeavors. She became one of the first artists to venture into the realm of performances, installation, and the orchestration of events that could be categorized as happenings. Notably, Menu Kama Sutra constitutes a body of work containing 15 photographs of frog legs captured by the artist while she was cooking them at home. These images resemble human bodies during intercourse, prompted Lumturi to capture this accidental likeness through her analog camera. In 2003, she orchestrated a happening performance at the National Gallery of Arts in Tirana, featuring an actual dinner serving fried frog legs. This event invited journalists and art personalities to engage in discussions about sexuality and sensuality as integral aspects of everyday life and art. The recurrence of this work and performance, staged in various locations, has solidified its position as one of the artist's most iconic works. Through this period, Blloshmi delved into her fascination with the human body and how communication, consumption, and political influence converged with its social and sensual connotations. She generated artworks using discarded materials or items manufactured in sustainable quantities, such as cigarettes, butts, dried orange peels, empty Coca-Cola bottles, phone cards, medical package, and advertisements. Amid these explorations, she managed to maintain a sharp focus on the human form, a reflection on her training in figurative art. While she explored special artworks, employing diverse materials, she persisted in creating paintings with oiled and mixed media canvas on canvas until 2003. Her later paintings took on a more conceptual and philosophical nature, addressing themes related to human nature and existence. Chapter 4, it's named It's a Man's World. In 2005, Blloshmi crafted a series of small, double-sided miniature mixed media works titled It's a Man's World. Through this series, she delved into the gender disparities present in Albanian contemporary society and the art field, as well as the dichotomies within Albanian national identity. Infused with humor, the series offered commentary on influential politicians and art figures in Albania, all of whom were men. This exposure highlighted the intricate ties of contemporary politics elite to those who held power during the socialist era. To achieve her desired effect in this series, she freely employed painting, collage, Photoshop editing, and canvas printing. Orange peels, molded into human figures, appeared in her photographic work Zarabanda in 2007. In 2008, she repurposed those photographs from Zarabanda to construct the work Lume and the Masters. Within her photograph, she integrated small fragments from paintings depicting scenes by celebrated great masters of art. She unearthed visual parallels between her photographs featuring orange peels fashioned into human-like forms and pivotal works in the art history. The title of the master's works became the title of Lumturi's creations. Through this series, she extended her critique beyond the confines of the Albanian reality into the realm of art history, effectively constructing a critique of art history. In doing so, her work proposed multi-layered narratives and interpretations and as a contemporary way of existence. In the subsequent years, particularly in the 2010s, she continued to engage with images of orange peels, creating works for the stage in collaboration with the Albanian choreographer Gjergj Prevasi. Blloshmi's impressive artistic practice, extraordinary biography, and powerful personality make her a unique potentist figure in the national and international contemporary art. Despite facing various limitations, such as being deaf from the age of 5, enduring oppression under the communist regime due to political reasons, and being a woman in the field dominated by men, Lumturi Blloshmi did not receive the recognition she deserved during her lifetime. She was not included in none of the major Balkan exhibitions in the West in the 90s and the 2000s, like In Search of Balkania, In the Gorges of the Balkans, a report, the exhibition Blood and Honey, The Futures in the Balkans, or the exhibition Gender Check, Femininity and Masculinity in the Art of Eastern Europe. As the art historian Rajno Isto, in his contribution for the catalogue of Lumturi Blloshmi from scratch argues, and I quote, "It was not that Blloshmi did not exhibit outside Albania in these years, the early 2000s, but rather that her works did not make their way into the exhibitions that shaped the understanding of contemporary art from former Eastern and Central Europe. Perhaps because her works did not reflect the kind of self-therapy and performative democratization that foreign curators often sought in those years." End of quote. Blloshmi was not included as well in none of the editions of the Tirana Biennale that happened from 2001 to 2009, or any other major international exhibitions in Albania. During those years, Albania served as a testing ground for a micro-utopian art experiments, and the protagonists of this avant-garde of democratization were almost entirely men, politicians, artists, and curators, as Rajno Isto observes. The gender imbalance in the art scene of the 90s and the 2000s was not lost on Blloshmi, who produced, as a result, the series of miniature It's a Man World, which I mentioned earlier. Since 2001, I have been working constantly to promote and shed light on the work and life of Blloshmi, which have yet to be thoroughly researched, displayed, and contextualized. And therefore, I'm very happy that hopefully through this long-term project that you have initiated, I can continue as well to work further and have a platform to present the work of Lumturi Blloshmi and to go more deeper in her practice. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Adela. I'm hoping as well. Thank you so much for this great presentation and for presenting to us this amazing work and life as well, with very dramatic moments. So thanks to you, to Anna and Adela, we have two cases of the long-term careers. But the question to both of you is about this word career, because, you know, I think that both of them, Vera and Lumturi, they are like they are the case studies that through them we can ask the questions about the category of being marginalized? What does it mean? What does it mean to be well established and famous? Because did I understood correctly, Adela, that her first solo exhibition was in 1998?
In 1988, at the age of 44.
Okay, so it was like many decades of, you know, being active. And this is something also familiar to Vera, because she was in some way, you know, a part of the art scene of Zagreb and even broader, but in some way she was also, as you told us, the monography book is still in the process because it was, well, never done before, and so on, also about the exhibitions. So my question to you is, I have few questions, like how did you start? How have you started your work with both of them? Like Adela, you met the artist, but Anna, you didn't, as I remember. And could you maybe tell us a little bit more about this issue of being considered as a, you know, as a part of the art scene in Croatia and in Albania in these two cases? Which one would you like? Would you like to start? Maybe, I don't know, Anna, maybe, or?
Thank you, Marika, for your questions. Yeah, as you already said, the situation with Vera and her career was really ambivalent during her lifetime. So we cannot say she was kind of unrecognized, because she did had a lot of exhibitions, and she got some awards, and you know, like the art scene of Zagreb is small and was small. It was a really vivid scene, but nevertheless, she was there, and in the sense people knew for her. But I think that maybe the story with her is that she was very apart. So first she was a woman, and for her generation it was rare, actually. Later generation, those that were like from that were maybe more starting to work in 70s, it was a little bit different situation. But for her generation, being a woman and being completely individual. So I think that also the thing that that was important here is that she was not part of any artistic group. And then at the time of 50s and 60s, especially in Zagreb scene, there were lots of artist groups, and they had their manifestos, and there was time of great polemics and debates about the role of art, etc. And she was not part of that. She just had her own poetics that was a little bit off and different, and as such, she kind of stayed at the margin of all these main streams that were happening at the time. But also, the funny thing is that after she died, I mean, newer generation of art historians, for example, they've never heard of her. Even we at the art history department, we never heard of her there. So she was not mentioned in any book. And I actually did meet Vera while she was still alive. Actually, it was through my mother, who was an art historian, and she collaborated with her, and this is how I met her. And then, but this kind of my engagement with the NGO Živi Atelier actually started kind of very spontaneously while I was still working at the Museum of Architecture, and Vera's son, Saša Kralj, who initiated actually the NGO and wanted to do something with the legacy of her mother, kind of approached the museum with the idea for the exhibition, and this is how actually everything started step by step. But yes, I don't know actually what else to say about it. But now I think that even is more now she's even more marginalized than during her lifetime, because when she was alive, she really had, you know, she was active part of the Association of Artists, etc. So she had some sort of visibility. But now I think that if there was no our efforts, trying to do something, she would completely fell into oblivion.
Thank you. Well, her situation is, I think, it's also maybe interesting. This is not a good word for this, but it's important because she was marginalized in some way during the, period of former Yugoslavia and also in Croatia. So because of, different reasons, but we can probably agree that there were the same reasons, but called in a different way. So I think that, maybe this is the common situation for these two artists. Adela, I don't know if you agree. So if you could tell us a little bit more. It's also interesting for me, this is the other question, but maybe we have still some time for the discussion. Do you think? Can you see that her situation? Unfortunately, she sadly passed away. But after the Biennale in Venice, was changed in some way. How do you see it?
So first about why, because in a way it's the same with Lumturi. She was very present in the art scene. Everybody knows her, but she is not part of the art history. Nobody learns it at the university. New generations don't know her if it was not for the exhibition that has happened recently. And she was not part of major artistic events. If she was present in the art scene, was because she herself dedicated all her life to art. She didn't have a family, she didn't have kids, and she insisted to be part of the official scene. And of course, she lived in this times of communist Albania, where biography played an important role. And if it was for her attempted biography, she would not have been part of the art scene at all, because they prevented people like her from getting education, from being part of the system, and for being represented. So let's say she had the bad luck. For 10 years, she could not even produce and be exhibited. That's why her first solo exhibition comes so late, when she was 44. And then there is this change of systems in the 90s, but then she's almost 50. So she kind of misses this new wave. It's not that she misses it, she's completely part of it. She finds her way to deal with it. It's just that maybe the art scene now, it's more giving focus to younger artists. And of course, as I said, it was an entirely man-dominated scene, which of course says something about it, because we see how the change comes if people in power are women like us, because then we have the awareness to show other women, to research other women. So with this kind of change, I think there is a bigger opportunity for this kind of artist and for Lumturi to become part of the not, I don't want to use the word canon, because we are all criticizing it. And the other thing is that Lumturi, the Albanian development within the bigger picture is of course different from the rest of Europe. So already we have this part of the world that has a sort of own trajectory. And within this bigger trajectory, we have Lumturi that has her own trajectory outside the main course of things. So that position makes her almost unreachable in a way. And when I say she was present, it means that all the curators and the other artists knew her, but because her unique way, I mean, the word unique sounds as well not analyzed in this sense, but we can see from her work that she was never afraid to change her work and herself. And this constant change made her as well ungraspable. So, and of course, we know that sometimes official narratives work with firm trajectories and discourses which are well established. So in a way, even maybe a vocabulary to like, let's say, an art historical vocabulary or approach is missing to capture this kind of artist. But I think a big turning point, it has been reached now with contemporary art, with this sort of liberalization and this space making for more individualized histories, and these micro histories that we are analyzing here. So that was showed as well at the Venice Biennale, at the curated part, with so many positions of women artists who, for different reasons, were not included in the main story. And what was the second question? Now I forgot what you said.
I wanted to ask you also about the situation of,
what's happening now, or
of her, yes, legacy after the Biennale, and
it's difficult in the Albanian context because we're facing our own local problems, not having. I mean, I come from the independent art scene, so everything that I do, it's with different kind of effort. State institutions are not many and have not maybe undergone the transition to be up to date with everything that is happening. So yes, it's with personal effort that we are kind of bringing forward this kind of work. And of course, it's luck to have such collaborators, in this case, for example, the National Gallery of Art in Kosovo, or even this seminar and you. So it's important and to stick with each other, with the other actors that are doing this kind of work, in order to create a sort of platform, because there is a need for this. So I must say that if this personal effort of mine and the relatives of Lumturi who are supporting me would not be there, I don't think that any research or exhibition of her work in the way that we want to do it would be happening.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thank you for your work that you did for her, and you're still doing.
Yes.
It's really extremely important, and I can only try to imagine how much work and effort you had to put into this, doing this by yourself.
And I had this good luck to have known her personally, and that she trusted me, because of course this kind of person was completely, on one side, very energetic and putting a lot of effort for her work, but on the other side, very oppressed and afraid because of all the traumas that she has gone through her life. So she had a lot of collaborators, but she couldn't trust a lot of people. So in a way, she trusted me, and her family trusts me as well. So we have as well this personal bond in a way, which makes me even be more, how to say, acquainted and more aware.
The trust and care are the categories that are really, really important. And even considering this seminar speakers we have here mostly or only independent researchers and curators. The atelier established by Sasha Krail, this is also an NGO. So this is how it's working, and I think that this could be also a topic for another seminar, because having Vera and Lumturi here, as a cases, we can say that, to me, when this interest dedicated to women artists has started some time ago, let's say 2 decades ago, I think that the focus at this time was on the women that we would consider as an avant-garde artist, like performers, new media, and so on. And the artists, like the painters, sculptors, and we had few papers dedicated to them today. In some way, despite of the huge amount of works, despite of the materiality of these works, are marginalized, I would say, twice. And I think that this is the very special moment when we can stop for a while and give some attention also to this issue. Would you agree?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, this is really actually an interesting thing that you noticed. Yeah.
And it also also brings some more problems and difficulties, because that kind of legacies, they need maybe even more like support from the official institutions than the others. So well, this is what Sandra also said, like without establishing the institution dedicated to the photography, well, some of these valuable works and the material will be lost, actually. So it's even more difficult if we have sculptures, if we have paintings, if this artworks needs some preservation process, and it's costly and so on. So yeah, like, this is the huge topic, and I think that your presentations are also a great starting point for to start to think about this. Thank you so much. Thank you for the second panel, which was really interesting. And we have the third part at 3 p.m. So now we have the lunch break, and I hope that you will be able to join us also after the break. So thank you, Anna, Adela, and Sandra, who is not with us anymore because she has some other presentation. But I would like to thank you also to her again, and see you in an hour, even less, 50 minutes. See you soon. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.